Here's an interesting article from the Denver Westward blog, which is like a magazine from Denver. They've been covering the James Holmes court proceedings. And this article is by Melanie Asmar, who's a reporter who's been covering the James Holmes case. The title of the article is James Holmes Post-its in Courthouse Bathroom Promote Film That Says He Was Set Up. And the article goes on to say, accused Aurora theater shooter James Holmes was in court yesterday for a short hearing to determine whether lawyers were ready to proceed with what will likely be a revealing preliminary hearing next week. They are. The hearing starts Monday, January 7th at 9 a.m. After the hearing, we used the woman's bathroom and found the walls plastered with neon post-it notes bearing this web address. That address leads to a YouTube page with an hour-and-a-half long film called the James Holmes Conspiracy. There's also a warning from YouTube that reads the following content has been identified by the YouTube community as being potentially offensive or inappropriate. Viewer discretion is advised. When we clicked on the video, it wouldn't play. Why am I not surprised? But we googled the name of the video and found it embedded on a website called Top Documentary Films. Here's how the video is described on that site. The James Holmes Conspiracy is for those who do not believe the story being told by the government and media. James Egan Holmes is the suspected perpetrator of a mass shooting that occurred on July 20th, 2012 at a movie theater in Aurora, Colorado. He had no known criminal record prior to the shooting. Topics discussed include the second suspect, weapons, police audio analysis, James Holmes' education in bio, LIBOR scandal, MKUltra, Project Gunrunner, and several other important elements. The video smacks of both paranoia and poor taste. It includes news clips from the July 20th shooting at the Century 16 Theater that left 12 people dead and 70 injured, as well as a tasteless clip of Heath Ledger as the Joker in The Dark Knight, the prequel to The Dark Knight Rises, which was showing when the shooting occurred. The film's narrator points out that some witnesses saw someone hanging around the emergency exit through which Holmes entered the theater, suggesting he didn't act alone. The police say he did, however. The narrator has even more bizarre theories, mind-controlling drugs and devious government programs, and the suggestion that Holmes, who was a neuroscience student at the University of Colorado, was working on sensitive medical research. His conclusion seems to be that Holmes was set up to kill by the government for sinister reasons having to do with the banking industry and gun control. Absurd as that may be, the filmmaker isn't the first to spout such theories. Inmate Stephen Unruh told Westward in November that he spent hours talking to Holmes in jail after Holmes' arrest in July, a circumstance that jail officials say would have been impossible. Unruh says Holmes told him he felt he was in a video game during the shooting and claimed to have been programmed to kill by an evil therapist. Similarly, a bizarre court motion filed in August asserted that James is being framed by Denver billionaire Philip Anschutz, Police Chief Dan Oates, and the Illuminati. The last frame of the video directs viewers to the YouTube page of Mark Howitt, whose other films include Eye of the Illuminati and a 33-part documentary about assassinations and murders that throughout history have been lied about. As for this film, the post-it promoter should find another place to hang handwritten advertisements. While the toilet may be a fitting location, the courthouse where victims of the tragedy often attend hearings is not. See another photo of the post-it notes in the bathroom below. Now, Melanie actually contacted me about this to talk to me about the documentary and my opinion on things, and we had a good long conversation. It must have been about an hour or so. She told me she couldn't really talk too long because of long distance charges and stuff like that. But it seemed like she was asking me a lot of questions, and I heard her typing and taking notes with what I was saying, and the interview that we had never got published, likely because I was hitting on material that she really didn't want to be public, nor the government or the media or anybody for that matter, that's related to this case. So that's just strange, you know what I mean, that she's saying that I'm paranoid and I have poor taste, as it says right here. So she's essentially trying to make me seem crazy, discredit me, discredit the work that I've done, and the interview is very extensive. I wish she would have, published it or posted something about it, but she hasn't. Now here's another article that's related to that by the Examiner, which is less biased, obviously. This is a really good site for getting information. Courthouse bathroom posted to promote James Holmes was a framed documentary. Now, a woman's bathroom near the Aurora County courtroom where the Aurora theater shooting trial is being held was found laced with post-it notes Wednesday promoting a documentary called The James Holmes Conspiracy on YouTube. While James Holmes sat in court for a short hearing to determine whether or not preliminary hearings will begin next week, a journalist from Denver's Westward magazine happened into the lady's bathroom and noticed the advertisements plastered all over the walls. She decided to humor the video's promoter and see where the trail actually led. Upon arrival, Melanie Asmar was treated to YouTube's version of suggestive censorship by proposing the idea the video is potentially offensive or inappropriate and forcing the viewer to acknowledge the warning before continuing on to the video. Knowing that many will be intimidated by the warning, regardless of its validity, leading people to simply close the page and potentially miss the video's information instead of ignoring the warning or continuing anyway, which is very true. It's a tactic used to stray people from watching the video. I also have a similar problem with the latest video I made on the Sandy Hook. It's called The Sandy Hook, the documentary. So instead of merely acknowledging the unnecessary warning and continuing to the video, now with almost 500,000 views, the Denver journalist oddly writes that she instead sought an alternative location to watch the same video prior to a debunking attempt that fell just as short as did the excuse for not merely clicking continue instead of pretending the video didn't work. The article's display of Stockholm Syndrome was not atypical of the average so-called mainstream journalist who cannot bear to think the video may be onto something, or that anyone in a proven corrupt establishment or rogue factions within would dare kill innocent people in the US and or cover up the crime, despite the video putting together a string of evidence that, bare minimum, raises startling and serious questions about the validity of the official story. Instead, what the video does is put together news reports, corroborating eyewitness testimony, and video evidence that clearly shows a scenario much different from the reality imposed on the people by the establishment's media, the always used lone gunman scenario. Victims describing accomplices in communication with third parties that allow the shooter through a one-way and locked from the outside back door, multiple tear gas canisters being deployed simultaneously in the theater from opposite directions, multiple gas masks seen at opposite ends of the crime scene, police dispatch audio clearly detailing multiple suspects, the real James Holmes' father having been recently subpoenaed to testify in the LIBOR, largest banking scandal in history. However, he was just accredited with inventing the algorithm that has been used to uncover the LIBOR scandal. He was not set to testify. The alleged James Holmes being visibly drugged out of his mind during his first appearance in court, and many other impossible coincidences and odd anomalies shown in the video was evidently way too much for the Westward journalist to handle. What then does a journalist do? Just like all other reporters and writers do, either consciously or subconsciously can't allow facts and reality to ruin the official narrative and or their view of the world around them. They instead attack the messenger and avoid those facts so as to either keep their jobs as superficial and politically correct newsmakers and or avoid having to come to terms with such potentially earth-shattering realities themselves. Now, this is definitely a good article here. It's good that they've actually addressed this, and you know what I mean? It's great that somebody posted this in the bathroom during the court proceedings of the James Holmes case. It's definitely a sign that people are waking up and people aren't going to accept the official story, and we know that the courts are corrupt, and the same people that are allowing for this to happen and setting it up can allow for things to progress and work in their favor in the end of the court proceedings, which seems to be happening with the James Holmes case, with all the anomalies as discussed in my documentary. It's pretty strange that when we are interviewed or asked questions by the media about these things, the articles don't get published. I mean, they're trying to discredit people right now, saying conspiracy theorists are cracks and lunatics and not all right in the head. And this just proves that they don't want people finding out the truth. So I just want to thank whoever posted those notes in the bathroom and for trying to get the word out there to people and keep up the good fight, because it seems like we're winning.